And Cougars continuing coverage on your TV. Mike Renier along with Mike James. It is the varsity squad against the Sault Sabercats as the Cougars will have the football to start off this game. Patrick Wilcox gets the return to close to the 40-yard line, and the 1-0 Cougars in the senior class taking on the Sault Sabercats. This should be a good one here tonight, Mike.
Yeah, no doubt. Two squads undefeated coming into this one, Mike. And Wilcox getting the Cougars off to a nice start. A little bit of a bobble on the initial grab, but able to corral it, and then a nice return. The Cougars going to start at their 42-yard line in this varsity football action. Again, first year for varsity football here in Chatham-Kent in quite a few years, and they've got a strong squad.
Starting off with a win on home field last week, trying to keep it going at the start of the 2019 season. On the ground on 1st and 10, trying to find a seam, and they lose the football, and it's going to be a touchdown, I believe, if he gets through, and it is actually just short, tripped up and around the 2 as the ball pops out from the Cougars, and the Sioux will be first and goal deep in Chatham-Kent territory, so an unfortunate break early in this game for Chatham-Kent.
Well, it went from bad to worse. Nakoma Scott took the handoff, but Sioux's defense was penetrating into the backfield. Nakoma Scott had nowhere to go, and then a heads-up play by the defensive lineman, number 5, Hunter Lambert Musso, just ripped the ball right out of Nakoma Scott's hands, nearly rumbling for the score. Just coming up a couple of yards short. It's going to be first and goal here for the Sioux. And what a start for the road squad.
Very, very close, led by quarterback Jordan Robinson right for the Sault Sabercats offensively. Just 29 seconds into this game. On first and goal, they hand it right off to the running back up the gut, and it is a touchdown. One play offensively. And 6 points for the Sabercats. And it is Zach Zeppa who gets the major score. 6-0 for the visitors early on.
Boy, a great start here for Sault Ste. Marie. Obviously, Zeppa just pounds that one in from a couple yards out. Looked like initially the Cougars had some pretty good penetration into the backfield, but Zeppa able to keep those legs churning and force his way into the end zone, and an early lead here for the Sioux squad.
Gabe Spina will try for the extra point here. 6-0 for the Sabercats. And make it 7. So 30 seconds into this game, a great job for both the defense and the offense quickly for the Sault Sabercats. They lead at 7-0.
Well, Cougars going to have to shake off that early misstep as they get set to go back on offense. But, boy, that was really just a fantastic defensive play by the Sabercats defender, because Nakoma Scott was corralled in the backfield and really was not going to get anywhere, and it was just a heads-up play by the defensive lineman, Lambert Musso, to literally just rip that ball out of the Nakoma Scott's hands and then return it nearly for the score.
Much calmer weather for this game, as earlier on this afternoon, the junior varsity game between these same two cities rained out as the lighting just stuck around and they couldn't get this one in. So that game canceled, and now hopefully able to get this senior varsity game in between the Cougars and the Sault Sabercats. Sioux at 2-0 in this young season. The Cougars winning their return back to the league in the varsity level last week against Hamilton, 31-6, trying to keep things rolling, but they'll have to work from behind early in this game. Cougars get the football back. Kick from the 45-yard line, end over end, a high kick. Fielded cleanly at the 30, trying to find a little room along the right-hand side. Nothing doing. The 30-yard line is Wilcox again with the return, but good special teams coverage by the Sabercats, and the Cougars take over.
Yeah, you're right, Mike. That was good coverage there from Sault Ste. Marie. Worth noting, too, you mentioned the rain that we had earlier today, and that was an unreal storm that we had come through here, an amazing cloud cover event that just rolled in and then just recently rolled out. The field is going to be a little bit wet, and obviously that's going to translate to the football, and that might have contributed as well to the ease at which they were able to strip the ball from Nakoma Scott on that first offensive play. ball could have some moisture on it every time it's put down on the field.
Second offensive series for the Cougars here early in this game. They air it out near side, and it is almost intercepted. Bobbled a number of times by Ethan West, number 8, who had some great coverage on the intended receiver. Ethan Jordan was the intended receiver along the near side, and it was almost picked off.
Yeah, fantastic coverage there. As you mentioned, Ethan Jordan well covered, blanketed, if you will, by Ethan West. And nearly a pick for the Sault Sabercats defender. Bobbled it a couple times and then just fell out of his grasp and brings up a 2nd and long here for the Cougars.
All this just over a minute into this football game. As this time they'll go to the ground on 2nd and 10. Again, a good job clogging up the middle, front line for the Sioux, and not much there. Maybe 2 on the ground for the Cougars, bringing up 3rd and long.
And that's going to bring out the punt team here for the Cougars. That carry from Nakoma Scott. Just over a yard, maybe 2, as you mentioned there, Mike. And Cougars offense stalling a little bit here early, but again, very early in this football game. Still 10:38 to go here in this first quarter. We're not even 2 minutes in. But again, Sault Ste. Marie with that quick start on the turnover and leading this one 7-0.
Cougars line up to punt. From fairly deep in their own territory. 7-0 for the Sabercats of Sault Ste. Marie. High snap. Punter has to go back a couple of steps. Still has lots of room. Gets a good boot away near side. And it sails out around the 46. Actually, now they're going to say it sailed out at the 50-yard line of the Sioux. So the Sabercats will take over close to midfield, up 7-0.
Yeah, despite that being a bit of a high snap, still able to corral it, but lots and lots of time to get that kick away. Doesn't look like the Sioux was all that interested in getting to the kicker there and not really rushed to get that kick off.
So by far the worst field position offensively for the Sioux so far, but still not bad at all. At their own 50-yard line, they even on the ground on 1st and 10. A big seam up the middle, first down yardage as they cross the 50 of the Cougars to up around the 47-yard line. So gain of about 13 on that run up the middle for the Sabercats.
And looks like that was number 20, Nick Pagnotta with the carry. And we certainly had him circled on our roster sheet coming into this one after seeing him here last year. Just an amazing runner. I believe last year when he played JV, he had over 300 all-purpose yards in a Sioux victory.
Quarterback Robinson right, little pitch off to the right-hand side. Cougars are right there, however. Nice coverage. Still trying to wrap down the receiver, and they do for a loss. Good job by the Cougars. Actually, after they got to the receiver, took them a while to haul him down, but the numbers favored the Cougars, and a good job on 1st and 10, so a significant loss all the way back to around the 53-yard line or thereabouts, back in Sioux territory.
Yeah, it looked like it was Brendan Bondy was the first defender in there to slow him down, and then Connor Wright came in to clean things up. Great defense by the Cougars, and 2nd and very long here. Obvious passing situation here for Sioux.
Out of the gun, Robinson right. Drops back to pass, goes off of somebody's bucket, and it is intercepted by the Cougars. As they now have the football in great field position. Tipped off of somebody's shoulder pads or helmet from our vantage point, but it goes high in the air. And a nice INT, and the Cougars starting to turn things around a little bit. Still down by 7.
Yeah, that, as you mentioned, that ball gets deflected up in the air, and then a heads-up play by Brendan Bondy, who swings his head around, gets his head on a swivel, turns around, comes back to that football. Looked like there was a Sioux receiver in the area that was going to be able to come up with it, but Brendan Bondy comes back, the defensive lineman, and able to grab it and then push his way forward for some yards after the interception as well. 1st and 10 for the Cougars, first time in Sioux territory.
From the 42-yard line. Once again, the gun formation, dropping back to the 50-yard line, downfield off to that left-hand side. It's complete, juking away from a would-be tackler. Second chance, and he crosses the 35-yard line. And that will be a net gain of about 7, maybe even 8-yard line, so or 8-yard gain, I should say. So a good 8-yard pickup, and they get closer to the 30-yard line of the Sioux.
Nice little stutter step from Nakoma Scott after he catches that pass, senses the defender there, hits the brakes, lets him go by, and then able to pick up a couple more yards after that. And a second and short, as you mentioned, Mike. About a yard, it looks like now they've marked it.
So close to a 9-yard pickup on 1st and 10 for the Cougars, and now a bit of a delay here as they're going to measure this one. I didn't think they got anywhere close to first down yardage.
Although it is on the far side of the field, always hard to tell from this vantage point when they mark it on that far side of the field exactly how close it is, but it
might be closer than we think.
I think it is going to be closer than we thought there.
Mighty, mighty close, and it is just a little short from what we see. I think from the nose of a football short. So it looks like they gained about 9 3/4 yards on that last play. So we'll remain second down for the Cougars in Sioux territory, but only about a half yard to pick up now. And mighty close to the 30-yard line. Still just under 8 minutes to go in quarter number 1. 7-0 for the Sabercats.
Well, I mean, there's a couple ways the Cougars could approach this one. It's such short yardage. Potentially go to the air here and maybe catch the Sioux on their heels a little bit and throw the ball down the field and just pound it across for the first down on 3rd down, or just go for that easy first down right now.
Clock wound once again, 7:50 remaining in quarter number 1. Second and very short for the Cougars. They go up the middle, and can they get that half yard? Yes, they can, past the 30-yard line, so that is going to be more than enough to move the chains. 1st and 10 as a nice little methodical move down the field offensively for Chatham-Kent.
Yep, Cougars coaching staff there deciding to just take that easy first down run right up the gut, and Cougars get that fresh set of downs, continue this drive into the Sault Sabercats territory.
Chatham-Kent Cougars back at it, as Mike mentioned earlier, the broadcast, the varsity level back and looking pretty sharp so far. Convincing win against Hamilton on this field last weekend. And certainly stiff competition from the Sault Sabercats program. Cougars trying to get back on even terms. They go on the ground, 1st and 10, nothing there up the middle. And looks like right back to the line of scrimmage, so not much of anything gained by Scott. Maybe a yard is what they're going to say, so up to the 28.5-yard line. So Scott gets minimal gain on 1st and 10.
Yeah, Sabercats have been pretty stout out front so far in this first quarter. Pretty decent penetration along that defensive line.
Second and 8. Flag comes out, and it is intercepted by the Sault Sabercats as they looked off to the left, picked off the pass. Let's see if the penalty will negate that last play or not. And it's going against the Cougars.
Yeah, it's offside call against the Cougars, so the defense going to have to come back onto the football field. Sault Ste. Marie forcing their second turnover already in this first quarter, 6:16 to go. On that interception, just looked like an errant pass from Evan Torres, the Cougars quarterback. And an easy pick there for the corner on that far side.
So the little bright spot here for the Cougars is they've pinned their opposition back to their 10-yard line. They go on 1st and 10 right up the middle. And some good first down yardage About an 8-yard pickup right up the middle for the Sault Sabercats as they get up to the 18-yard line.
Again, the player that we circled is that number 20 that you see in the backfield off to the right of the quarterback, Pagnotta.
And once again, they hand it off to that running back, trying to get those 2 yards for the first down. And it looks like he's got enough. Yes, they do. They confirm now. Got about 2.5 on that run. So, again, that's going to be probably one of the big orders of the night for the offense for the Sioux. Just handed off to big number 20.
Yeah, and you know what? He's a force. You can see he'll run the ball inside. He's not afraid to run the ball inside, but he's got the agility and the elusiveness to bounce it outside as well. So he's a threat.
He gets it again, and he bounces off to that right-hand side. He finds an opening and some substantial gains on 1st and 10.
Lucas Doyle on that stop. There is a flag.
Doyle hauls him down. Looks like he got about 9 on that run. There is a flag down along that far sideline.
I'm not sure if this is going to be a face mask.
And it's going to be against the Cougars as they march it down the field. Looks like it's a pretty major foul as I think 15 yards comes off the books there.
Oh, as a horse collar.
Okay.
And that's just a safety call right there. That was a penalty that was put into effect a few years ago because there were so many injuries where you'd tackle a ball carrier by the horse collar, the back of the jersey. When you pull them down, you'd end up with a lot of knee and ankle injuries and put the player's safety at risk. So they had the horse collar call.
Now, I thought I saw a flash of lightning in the distance, and it's exactly what that was. So on a seemingly a nice evening, that was a flash of lightning. And with 4:59 to go in the first quarter, league rules say you see a flash of lightning, you got to wait 30 yards. So
30 yards or 30 minutes?
Well, you have to wait both, okay? 30 minutes. You got to travel 30 yards to safety, which I believe is up in the booth.
Everybody must run a minimum of 30 yards.
Everyone
and
runs
then
30
wait
yards.
for 30 minutes.
Yeah, 30 minutes. So there is a delay here with lightning in the distance and a 7-0 Sault Sabercats lead. Varsity football, OFC, and the Chatham-Kent Cougars on your TV. As we have now reconvened post-lightning delay. 5 minutes to go in quarter number 1. 7-0 for the Sault Sabercats over the Chatham-Kent Cougars. Varsity action. 1-0 for the Cougars on this young season. 2-0 for the Sioux Club. And a couple of turnovers so far here for the Cougars.
Yeah, Cougars on their, I believe it was their first offensive possession. Nakoma Scott had the ball ripped right out of his hands. And the defender for the Sioux nearly returned it for a touchdown. Just came up a couple yards short, and then they were able to punch it in after that.
Penalty flag right off the snap here offensively for the Sault Sabercats. Pass complete along the right-hand side. And brought down close to the first down marker, around the 53-yard line of the Cougars. We'll see what this flag does.
Flag coming in along that line of scrimmage just after the snap. And it's offside against the Sault Sabercats.
So a bit of a break there for the Cougars as the ball comes back 5 yards. So this will be 1st and 15 now. Football backed up to the 42-yard line of the Sioux.
5 yards, repeat first down, 1st and 15.
Out of the gun again, they will hand it off to the big running back, number 20, and he doesn't get all that far. Nice job by the front line of the Cougars, Nick Pagnotta. Nowhere to go up the middle, so 2nd and long coming up now for the Sioux.
Good penetration there from the Cougars.
No gain on the play, 2nd down, 15.
Not sure if that was Cameron Creechin that came shooting through the gap to make that tackle.
2nd and 15 for the Sioux. Dropping back to pass, way back. A little pass along that far side off the fingertips. Looks like that was intended for Pagnotta. And it falls to the turf incomplete. So good job by the Cougars defensively. 3rd and 15 as the personnel changes up.
It looked like they were trying to set up a screenplay there on the right side. The Sabercats were, but as you mentioned, the pass falls incomplete. And nonetheless, the Cougars had a couple defenders out there. Looked like they had that play well defended and forced the Sioux into their first punting situation of this football game.
.350 to go in quarter number 1. And a solid punt as it goes off to that right-hand side and into the Cougars bench. Around the 40-yard line in that area. So where the Cougars now will take back over offensively, trying to find their first points of the evening, down 7-0.
Hard to tell at this point, considering it was the first punt for the Sioux, if they were trying to directionally kick that out of bounds to avoid any kind of return, or if maybe that just went off the side of the foot of Skylar Primo Michelli. A couple more punting situations, and we'll get a better idea of exactly what strategy maybe the Sioux was going for there.
1st and 10, Chatham-Kent. First, they pitch it off to the running back, trying to find a seam along that far sideline. And that was Scott. See how much he gets along that far sideline. Looks like Scott picks up about 3, maybe 4 yards. Looks like it's going to be about 2nd and 7 now for Chatham-Kent.
Yeah, Nakoma Scott, the bulk of the carries so far here in this first quarter with 3:12 and counting to go. The Sioux leading 7-0. Nakoma Scott, possibly the lone ball carrier so far for the Cougars.
3 minutes to go here in quarter number 1, and some early movement, and 2 flags come out. Looks like the Cougars move early, and it's going to be a procedure call here. So that's going to be a tough break for Chatham-Kent.
And Nolan LaRouche lined up on the end of the line. Moved early. That's going to negate that first down pickup from Nakoma Scott.
Second down and 13 for the Cougars at their own 39.
Backed up to their own 39, down 7-0, 2:50 to go in quarter number 1. 2nd and quite a ways to go, 13 to a first down.
Looks like the Sioux's coming with a blitz here.
Back to pass off that far side, and it's dropped past the 45-yard line.
Across the middle.
As the Cougars don't have the football for long on that drive. 3rd and quite long coming up.
I believe we maybe have a flag, or was it another lightning sighting? I don't see any flags on the field.
So it's confusion right now. We do know that much. Everyone's confused. 2:38 to go in the first quarter. 7-0 for Sault Ste. Marie. Cougars unable to get much going offensively so far. We've already seen a delay due to lightning.
Oh, and they're now waving everybody off the field.
We're doing it again. It has been a tumultuous day weather-wise here in Chatham-Kent. The junior varsity game already washed away. That didn't even get started. And this will be our second weather delay, I believe due to lightning. So another 30 minutes at least before we get going. So another stutter step here. This one, the varsities, Chatham-Kent Cougars, Sault Ste. Marie Sabercats, 7-0 for the Sioux. And we've only made it up to 2:38 remaining in the first quarter. Frustration so far, really, for everyone.
And you can understand the frustration, but at the same time, there's nothing that you can do about it. I mean, unfortunately, it's out of anybody's control. And certainly the frustration for the Sioux making the drive down this way to Chatham-Kent, and they already had one game canceled. And you can just imagine the cost for the football organization for the busing and everything that comes with a long travel, like they would have to endure.
On the bright side, at least the varsity squads have seen some game action on this field, and something the junior varsities weren't able to even say earlier on this afternoon is their game was completely washed away with lots of lightning in the area. It kept getting pushed off, and they just ran at a time. Couldn't get that game in at all. So the varsities now in that same situation. The second weather delay. First quarter, 7-0 Sioux. We hope to be back with more of this football game. The Chatham-Kent Cougars on your TV. Well, when we last signed up, we said we hope to be back with more football. Unfortunately, we now can confirm that this also has been canceled. So the second football game of the afternoon has been canceled. This time the varsity between the Chatham-Kent Cougars and the poor Sault Sabercats program. Second time today that they have had this game canceled. They have traveled, 6-7 hours to play this game, Michael. And first the junior varsities, now the varsity squad, not seeing a completed game.
Yeah, you've got to feel for the members of the squads, also the families that have made the trek down here as well, driving separate from the bus, obviously, and then you think about their drive back. At this point, we're reporting it's 8:15 on Saturday night. You factor in stops on the way back to Sault Ste. Marie, it's probably about a 7-8 hour drive, as you mentioned. I mean, it's a long trek, and to not get either of the two games in today, to come all this way and only play about 10 minutes of football is extremely disappointing.
Absolutely. So, it's really disheartening, but it's just been one of those days with the weather here in Chatham-Kent. Just one of those days. So, we will be back later on this season for more football with the Chatham-Kent Cougars, if the weather allows us, if we play any more football this year.
Yeah, just a disappointing result today. But again, unfortunately, out of the control of anyone, and it's a tough go. But on the flip side, the cloud cover has been the big attraction here today.
Has been for sure. So on behalf of Mike James, Jeff Brooks on camera, my name is Mike Renier. Later on, we will continue our coverage of the Chatham-Kent Cougars on your TV.